Good morning, everyone. It's Thursday, February 18th, coming to you live from Seoul. I'm Kim Mo-gyan. Before we get started, these are the stories we're following at the top of the hour. South Korea again reported 621 new cases on Thursday, recording the same figure as the day before. Authorities are on high alert, claiming that eased social distancing rules could be strengthened again if the situation continues. COVID-19 variants continue to spread across the world, with fears in Germany that the UK variant could become the dominant strain in the country. Prevalence of the variant has increased from 6% to more than 22% in 2 weeks. And federal prosecutors in the U.S. announced that they have charged 3 North Korean computer programmers over a broad range of global hacks. We begin with the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea. The country reported 621 new cases Thursday, the same figure as the day before. Of the new cases, 590 were locally transmitted and 31 were from overseas. There were 6 more deaths, bringing the death toll to 1,544. South Korea's total number of cases has now surpassed the 85,000 mark. Health authorities are closely watching the situation and say that they could raise the social distancing level if the current situation continues. South Korea granted a final approval for AstraZeneca's coronavirus vaccine. Authorities gear up to begin vaccinations next Friday and hold a mock drill this week. Our Min Soo-kyun gives us the updates.
South Korea has given the green light to the first batch of AstraZeneca vaccines. The Ministry of Food and Drug Safety said on Wednesday that this allows doses for 787,000 people to be administered. With final approval granted, they'll now be produced by local drug maker SK Bioscience. Those at care facilities and hospitals below the age of 65 will be given their shots starting next week on February 26th. But before inoculations begin, the government says it will conduct a vaccination drill this coming Friday to see how everything works in terms of shipping the vaccines to local clinics. The Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency also said it has secured at least 40 million special syringes that can draw 6 shots per vial, 1 more than a standard needle. Meanwhile, for those aged 65 and above, inoculations are expected to begin in the second quarter of this year. Chung Eun-young, the commissioner of the Korea Disease Control and Prevention Agency, said vaccine plans for older people will be finalized in April once experts have reviewed all options for COVID-19 vaccines, including Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Novavax. Min Soo-kyun, Arirang News.
As new COVID-19 variants, more contagious and resistant to vaccines, continue to pose a grave threat, Germany fears the UK variant could become the dominant strain in the country very soon if it continues to spread as fast as it is. Our Kim Hyo-sun has more.
The new COVID-19 variant from the UK is spreading at an alarming rate across Germany.
Data shows that variants of the virus are also spreading in Germany. Especially the variant of the coronavirus first detected in Britain worries us. The share of the variant has increased from 6% to more than 22% in 2 weeks.
Germany's health minister also warned that if the variant continues spreading at such a rate, it could become the dominant variant in the country very soon, accounting for some 80% of new infections by early March. Italy has reported a rare new variant in a person who recently returned from Africa. This is the first time the strain has been identified in Italy after it was first detected in Britain and Nigeria late last year. Researchers say it has similarities with other variants detected in the UK, South Africa, and Brazil, but they need to look into the rare strain to identify the risks it poses. Against such a backdrop, the EU proposed to exert immediate efforts to respond to the fast spread of new COVID-19 variants.
We are today presenting the HERA incubator. It is a new public-private cooperation pooling the knowledge and the resources of industry, of the research and science community, of the whole health sector, and public authorities and regulators. The aim is to use our combined strength to get ahead of the curve for the next phase of this virus, from the early detection of the new variants all along the whole chain up to the rapid mass production that is necessary if we have adapted second level or second generation vaccines.
The bloc also vowed to speed up the approval process for COVID-19 vaccines and secure more doses going forward, adding that the European Commission has inked a second deal with Moderna to purchase an extra 300 million doses. Kim Hye-san, Arirang News.
Amid the ongoing pandemic, the United States, under President Joe Biden, is showing more dedication to the World Health Organization. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said the U.S. will pay some $200 million to the agency by the end of the month. This is being seen as a goodwill gesture as they move to recommit to the multilateral organization. Blinken said it would be a key step to fulfilling its financial obligations as a WHO member. The Trump administration had withdrawn the U.S. from the WHO in July last year, although this was immediately reversed on the day of Biden's inauguration. One of the fiercest snowstorms in U.S. history has caused power to go out for over 5 million households and killed at least 31 people. Making matters even worse, the weather is going to delay COVID-19 inoculations for those in need. Our Choi Jung-yun reports.
As a record-breaking cold wave sweeps the U.S., 3/4 of America's landmass is blanketed in heavy snow. It is the biggest snowstorm to hit the U.S. since 2003. Certain regions are also unusually cold. Texas remained in the frigid grip of winter storms on Wednesday and has been struck by an electricity supply crisis that has forced millions to endure days without power or heat.
Right now, there still remains about 10,000 megawatts that is off the grid and as a result is not contributing to power in the state.
With power plants out of action, 5.5 million households in 18 states have been forced to endure the biting cold with no heat. This has caused medical services to be overwhelmed and led to dozens of deaths. At least 31 people across 8 states have died. Some from car accidents and others from carbon monoxide poisoning while trying to get some heat from their gas ovens or devices. People also died in a house fire in Texas.
They've been without power in this neighborhood for at least 8 hours. It's unknown whether or not they had started a fire in the fireplace or whether they were using candles. We just don't know what caused the fire right now.
The freak weather has also shuttered COVID-19 inoculation centers and held up vaccine supplies. Several states, including Texas and Missouri, have decided to halt vaccinations until the weather improves. The storm is expected to cause over $1 trillion in damage. As more storms are forecast to hit south central and northeastern regions soon, the authorities are hunkering down for a difficult few weeks. Choi Jung-yun, Arirang News.
The U.S. Justice Department has charged 3 North Korean computer programmers for their role in a wide range of global hacks. The indictments build off an earlier criminal case brought in 2018. Our Lee Seung-jae has more.
Federal prosecutors in the U.S. announced Wednesday that they have charged 3 North Korean computer programmers for a broad range of global hacks. This includes a destructive attack targeting Sony Pictures and an extortion scheme aimed at attempting to steal more than $1.3 billion from banks and other financial institutions. The latest charges also build off earlier charges from 2018.
The indictment we're announcing today builds on the charges in the 2018 complaint, which describes how members of the conspiracy were responsible for several highly destructive and well-known computer intrusions, including the cyber attack on Sony Pictures Entertainment right here in our community. Some of these intrusions occurred as recently as a few months ago using newly identified strains of malware uncovered by the FBI as part of this investigation.
Prosecutors say all 3 are members of a North Korean military intelligence agency known as the Reconnaissance General Bureau, and said they carried out hacks on behalf of the regime with the goal of using stolen funds to benefit North Korea. However, none of the 3 hackers are in American custody and won't be prosecuted in the U.S. Instead, the Justice Department finds value in the latest indictments as a message to hackers that they are not anonymous and can be identified. North Korean military hacking units are known by multiple names in the cybersecurity community, including Lazarus Group and APT-38. Prosecutors say the three hackers were at times stationed by the North Korean government in other countries, including China and Russia. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
An academic paper by a Harvard law professor stoked international controversy as it goes against the historical consensus of what's widely accepted regarding Japan's wartime sex slavery issue. A survivor of the crime, a former U.S. congressman, and other advocates came together at a virtual roundtable aimed at debunking denialism on the issue. Our Kim Do-yeon has the full story.
하지만은 무시하세요. 그것까지 신경 쓰지 마세요.
This is what Lee Young-soo, a 93-year-old comfort women survivor, said about the recent claims made by Harvard Law School professor J. Mark Ramsier that they were in fact voluntarily contracted to Japanese brothels. Comfort women is a euphemism that refers to the hundreds of thousands of women that were forced into sexual enslavement by the Japanese military leading up to and during World War II. Miss E, or often referred to as 할머니 in Korean, a term for women old enough to be grandmothers, was invited by Harvard Asian Pacific American Law Students Association along with other prominent activists to speak on the issue, a chance to directly respond to Ramsier's claims.
Maybe it was a blessing in disguise. He made this statement and his argument about the comfort women issue, which was not progressing at all, and he made this huge controversy and brought attention to it.
A former judge who founded Comfort Women Justice Coalition in 2015, Lillian Singh, said this is not just a matter between Korea and Japan. There were victims from other countries too, and it is a human rights issue.
Mr. Ramsier had the audacity to write about the issue of comfort women and yet never talk to the victims themselves, never interview Grandma Lee, never heard her stories personally.
Former Democratic Congressman Mike Honda, who has been at the forefront of raising awareness in the U.S., said with the Japanese government not cooperating and with something of an ambiguous response, activists need to stop being so diplomatic.
It's not an issue of misunderstanding. Ex-Prime Minister Abe and now Suga, they're lying, okay?
The roundtable discussion took place virtually and lasted around an hour and a half. More than 350 people attended on Zoom, and at one point, around 100 on Facebook Live, with supportive comments for the Comfort Women survivors and the other speakers. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
A lawmaker from South Korea's minor opposition Justice Party has been named in the Time magazine's Time100 Next 2021. Time magazine on Wednesday said that Chang Hae-young is one of the youngest legislators in Korea. It also pointed out a documentary she produced when she realized the facility caring for her autistic sister was being abusive. It added Chang has already made her mark by pushing through legislation to safeguard welfare services for retirees with disabilities. The lawmaker was the only South Korean on the list. Exports of processed chicken from South Korea have hit an all-time high. According to the Korea International Trade Association Thursday, Korea's processed chicken exports increased nearly 60% last year from the previous year. The figure amounted to $21 million. The trade association attributed the increase to the growing global demand for prepackaged meals and the Korean wave, or Hallyu. The U.S. and Hong Kong were the two largest export markets. Hong Kong in particular imported 162.4% more processed chicken from Korea on year.
Good morning. Today is Usu, the second spring term, and we can expect more spring-like weather than cold winter from now on. But today saw a very cold start to the day, again with cold wave alerts remaining in place. Meanwhile, heavy snow alerts are still in place for southwestern regions as well as on Jeju, Ulleungdo, and Dokdo. More snow is expected through this afternoon. The Jeollado provinces will see 5 more centimeters. temperatures, but other regions will have sunny skies all day. Meanwhile, regions along the west coast and Jeju are braving strong winds with strong wind advisory, while the east and parts of Seoul are under dry weather alerts. So it's a rough final stage of winter across the country. But long-awaited milder weather returns tomorrow afternoon and will stay fairly warm through Sunday. Highs this afternoon will go up to positive territory, but sharp winds will make it feel colder than these actual temperatures. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the weather conditions around the world.
And that's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
Lately,